So here's the thing about the Epic Games Store. Whether we like it or not, the platform has made significant headway since its announcement, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. If anything, despite all the backlash surrounding the store, it's doing better than ever, having recently announced a new wave of exclusives that will be making their way soon. The most prominent of these games, and arguably the most disheartening for fans, is the revelation that Obsidian's Fallout-inspired The Outer Worlds will be coming exclusively to Epic Games Store for a year. I think what made this one particularly sting was the game's reveal trailer confirmed a Steam release before the rug was pulled from under us, before hearing that the game won't in fact be out on the PC digital games platform that's presently most feature complete and most preferred among enthusiasts. It'd be one thing if the game was coming to Epic Games Store in addition to other platforms, but the fact that a Steam release is being pulled outright is something that many have taken great issue with. After all, The Outer Worlds isn't a game that Epic Games helped make in any way, shape, or form. Fans can understand first-party exclusivity to a certain extent because their existence is owed to their respective companies' funding and aid. Yes, Half-Life 2 was exclusive to Steam, but that was a Valve first-party title, and similarly, fans understand why Epic's in-house Fortnite is an Epic Store exclusive. But simply throwing money around to gate off third-party titles like Outer Worlds or Metro Exodus, which had every intention to release on Steam starting out, is perceived as another matter entirely. On top of Outer Worlds, Epic Store also managed to procure major titles such as Remedy's Control, Quantic Dream's previously PlayStation exclusive Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, and Heavy Rain, various unannounced Ubisoft games coming to PC, and a bunch of other noteworthy titles. There is no denying that Epic Games Store is coming out swinging, that they are intent on committing to their strategy of buying out year-long exclusivity rights to keep as many games away from Steam as possible. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney hasn't been afraid to publicly speak out against Steam either. During an interview with website The Verge that occurred ahead of GDC 2019, when asked about concerns regarding content moderation, Tim threw a couple jabs at Steam with the following statement. Epic has two different philosophies. When we're building tools, we respect developers' complete creative freedom. It can be used for the development for anything that's legal. You can make a game we disagree with. We'll turn down crappy games that are submitted to the Epic Store. We're not going to accept pornographic or shock content of any kind. We're not in the porn business here. PC is an open platform, and those devs can reach gamers in any other way they want. Similar sentiments were expressed to website PC Gamer. When asked about the kind of content Epic is looking to put into their store, Sweeney stated that the criteria is akin to what a movie theater might apply as to what movies they show, and provided the following statement. We'll have a quality standard that doesn't accept crappy games. We'll accept reasonably good quality games of any scale, whether small indie games to huge AAA games, and we'll take everything up to like an R-rated movie or an M-rated game. A GTA game would be fine to us, but Epic's not going to distribute porn games or bloatware or asset flips, or any sort of thing that's meant to shock players. The PC is an open platform, and if we don't distribute it in our store, you can still reach consumers directly. As for how Epic intends to approve games before they're released on Epic, while it won't be anything like the console certification process, there will be humans who can make judgment calls that he assures will be pretty reasonable. So this is all obviously in reference to the fact that Steam has very few filters when it comes to what can actually be put up on the platform. Most recently, the listing of a game going by the name Rape Day made waves across the internet, and the premise of the game is about what you'd expect from its title. As controversy mounted, Valve eventually made the decision to pull the game from the store, after which the following statement was issued. We respect developers' desire to express themselves, and the purpose of Steam is to help developers find an audience. But this developer has chosen content matter and a way of representing it that makes it very difficult for us to help them do that. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Back in May 2018, Valve removed a game going by the name Active Shooter, which put players in the shoes of a school shooter. Aside from controversial games, Valve is also known for featuring games with pornographic content as well as lazy bloatware and asset flips. These aren't hard to stumble upon either. I mean, just today I went to Steam and clicked on new releases under discovery queues, and I was immediately taken to a game in which players get to solve jigsaw puzzles featuring images of bikini-clad models, and below that, Steam proceeded to recommend me games of the more explicit variety. So yeah, among all the fantastic high-profile releases on the front page, there is a lot of just garbage lying around, and Tim Sweeney is essentially calling this out directly while expressing that you won't find anything like that in the Epic Store. Now, regardless of what your stance is on the inclusion of pornographic games on Steam or on whether highly controversial games should be allowed to stay on Steam or not, there is no denying that stuff like this does have a negative impact on optics and give developers all the more reason to put their games in other digital storefronts. Similarly, if Walmart or Target all of a sudden started lining their shelves with controversial or explicit products that any consumer could easily stumble upon, or bloated their stores with useless garbage that offer no value and that nobody in their right minds would actually purchase, you might start seeing companies take their business elsewhere to sell their products in a more presentable environment. This goes doubly true if other storefronts happen to offer, say, a bigger pay cut for each unit sold, or offered a nice infusion of cash for companies who decide to sell their products exclusively on that storefront. I personally don't like the reality of Epic Games Store's third-party exclusivity any more than you do, but we cannot deny the reality that Epic's business strategy is working. We are seeing more and more major developers putting their games exclusively on Epic for a year, and that first year is a huge deal. That's when sales really count. Furthermore, we have seen how fan backlash against Epic Games Store has not really made a huge dent when it comes to game sales. Epic recently announced that Metro Exodus sold 2.5 times more on Epic Store than Metro Last Light did on Steam. Now, let me start by emphasizing that this is a really dumb and misleading comparison. Epic is trying to make it seem like their store was essential to sales growth, but all Epic really did was throw some money around 3 weeks before launch while signing a contract that restricted the game's Steam release. They played no part in development or marketing. All they did was secure the game. The reality is that Metro Exodus's sales growth from past entries is a testament to PC gaming's growth since 2013 and to the Metro series having garnered a bigger fanbase in the last 6 years. As I said in my previous video, this is about as natural as Witcher 3 selling significantly more copies than Witcher 2 did. However, this Metro Exodus data would also suggest that selling the game on Epic didn't have a huge negative impact either, as the game still pushed a lot of units overall. One could argue that the game could have sold more copies had it also launched on Steam, but the higher pay cut and the cash infusion from Epic exclusivity likely compensated for that. The fact of the matter is that despite backlash, Metro Exodus selling exclusively on Epic Games Store for a year was a successful endeavor, and many other developers seem to be eager to follow suit. If Steam wishes to compete, it's time for them to react and give developers a good reason to stick with this platform, and I think the most urgent adjustment that has to be made is the revenue split. As it stands, Steam currently takes 30% from games that perform below $10 million, 25% from games that perform beyond $10 million, and 20% from games that reach the $50 million mark. It's this the rich get richer model that's particularly ill-suited for independent developers. Epic Games Store, on the other hand, only takes 12% of any and every game, no matter how they perform, and gives developers and publishers committing to exclusivity a bunch of extra cash. The way Tim Sweeney put it in an interview with MCV UK from March 11, 2019 was, quote, "We are giving game developers and publishers the store business model that we have always wanted as developers ourselves." Many fans and enthusiasts aren't happy about the way they're handling things for a variety of reasons. But from a developer standpoint, you can see why what Epic is offering is so compelling, especially if you're a self-published indie developer who could really use that money. And these developers will feel more secure than ever now that they've seen how Metro Exodus's Epic Store exclusivity was not hugely detrimental to sales, even if it meant weathering a wave of backlash. Epic Games Store has become a legitimate threat for Steam now, and if Steam wishes to draw in developers, they have to match the revenue cut that Epic is offering or do even better, and they may very well have to start cleaning up the storefront, because ultimately a digital video game storefront won't matter if developers start pulling away. We're already seeing how a major title like Borderlands 3 is likely to be an Epic Store exclusive when it's announced later this month, and I get the sense that this snowball will keep rolling until Steam makes a drastic move to lure developers back. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney has also not been subtle about what he believes the key components are when competing with Steam, telling MVC this: "It's nearly perfect for consumers already. There is no hope of displacing a dominant storefront solely by adding marginally more store features or a marginally better install experience. These battles will be won on the basis of game supply, consumer prices, and developer revenue sharing." Now, let me start by saying that I wholeheartedly disagree with the notion that the Epic Games Store is nearly perfect for consumers already. It may be on its way to becoming a better launcher, judging by this roadmap, but as it currently stands, it lacks so many key features that Steam users have come to enjoy, and it's a huge part of why fans are lashing out. They feel like they're being forced to use an inferior platform to play certain third-party games that Epic artificially gated off. Many feel Epic should have either shipped a feature-complete launcher or waited until it was in an adequate state before pulling the trigger on exclusivity. On the other hand, when he said that these battles will be won on the basis of game supply, consumer prices, and developer revenue sharing, from a purely business standpoint, he's probably not entirely wrong. That doesn't make gating off third-party games from Steam by throwing Fortnite money around any less anti-consumer, but from a business standpoint, it is definitely working, and unless consumers protest Epic's business practice en masse by speaking with their wallets, which doesn't seem to be happening to a hugely impactful degree, judging by Metro Exodus's general success on Epic, it's up to Steam to step up and offer a better service to not just consumers, but also to developers. I do fear that one day Epic will apply enough pressure that Steam will also start signing exclusivity deals, and that this will all begin fostering an environment of a platform war within PC, thereby dividing the community and inviting further toxicity and tribalism. I honestly don't know what the future holds. I don't know if the negative disposition towards Epic Games Store during its current infancy will have long-term ramifications, or if the negative disposition will dissipate as the store develops. But based on what we know now, Epic Games Store is looking like a train that cannot be stopped, one that Steam has to keep up with and counteract lest it be overtaken. Developers are quickly gravitating towards the Epic Games Store being more financially generous, and to the idea that it will be curated to something more adequate than Steam's current offering. This message of Epic not being quote-unquote in the porn business, and of their store not accepting what Tim calls crappy games, is somewhat resonating with a lot of game publishers and studios, however frustrated consumers might be at Epic's approach of paying developers to gate off their games from Steam, in large part because Steam has been so indolent about fixing its most frowned upon blemishes. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on Tim Sweeney's comments and the future of Epic Games Store and Steam in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.